All right, everybody. If you don't like hearing me talk, tonight is your night because I don't know nearly as much as these two gentlemen about this topic. We are going to talk numbers. I don't know, numerology, like the design of the universe, all that good stuff. We're going to get it. Beautiful Mind style. Aquarian Anarchy is back at it again. Let's go. And our quote for tonight from Sri Ramakrishna: "It is easy to talk on religion, but difficult to practice it." Marcus, would you like to explain to the people why you chose that quote on an episode about numbers?
Because it's really fucking hard.
Right.
Basically, what Ramakrishna was talking about was in his time, just like now, there were a lot of people who like to run their mouths about how things are done and all of that kind of stuff, while at the same time doing virtually nothing. The reason, Ramakrishna, on the other hand, was a doer. He basically, long story short, achieved enlightenment by the route of Hinduism. Not to be outdone, was like, I think I'll become a Christian, and then became enlightened via Christianity, and then went, I kind of think I'd like to be a Muslim, and became So
I didn't know all that. Okay.
Yeah. So he absolutely practiced what he preached, and with Gematria and Kabbalah, which is a big part of kind of like the foundation of kind of where my beliefs are. Gematria is a number system, but long story short, it's something very difficult to do. My religion is not for everybody because you have to spend a lot of time. There is, there's not, I thought I'd take this week off. There's no taking this week off. So again, it kind of comes down to that in some of these religious practices, you got to be dedicated. And so that's kind of why I chose that as the quote for today. And for those that don't know, the reason that why we're covering this is Tim, who's one of our Patreon members,
right.
Was like, hey man, you guys have talked a lot about Gematria, but you've never actually done a show about it. And so we kind of were like, hey, why don't we do a show about it? And this is not gonna, I have no desire for anybody who might be coming here for in-depth Kabbalistic understanding. You have come to the wrong show for today.
Yeah, that's a Gunsmoke. There'd be only like one person that would really be able to go in depth with this, and he just told you himself that he wasn't going to. So you came for the wrong place. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're going to cover the basics. We're going to get to the very, simple stuff of how to do it, and why you would want to do it, and why you would want to know about it. And to answer that last question first, the shitbags, for those who are watching us and might be hoteps or they might be anarchists, and they might be like, okay, following some of our craziness, they're like,
well,
okay, I elaborate.
Oh, from the last episode, there was a racist that popped up.
Yeah. Speaking of which, by the way, I gotta say, I don't know if anybody has noticed the Easter egg yet, but behind me, you will see over my left shoulder, we have a new sponsor. So we're always sponsored by Men of Order and Flow. Get your flow on, like get your mind right. But also the Cracker Collection, brought to you by Kellogg.
Yo,
It's not just so like I wanted to say this too. Like it is. It's not just the cracker collection. It also says right here, baked in the USA.
I'll be baked
and look,
in
there's
the USA
13 snacks, so we can get into the number 13. So it's also thematic in that regard. But anyway, I just so I don't know if y'all saw that over my shoulder over
I
there.
did not.
That was for our special guest from last week who blew up the chat with all sorts of weird white nationalism stuff that was entertaining, if nothing else.
That was why. I wasn't.
Happy Black History Month, everybody!
Please don't
from
bring
the Cracker Collection.
Please don't bring racist people.
Right.
So anyway, I was like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Where you're aiming at that. But now I understand. I watched the show.
So Steph says the Cracker Collection is wild. No, Steph. What it is it's a huge missed opportunity. They had every opportunity to call them cracker ass crackers, and they didn't. They called them just the Cracker Collection. So like, I don't want to hear it. Like, I can't say the other product made by the same company that makes cracker ass crackers, but if you saw Bring the Pain with Chris Rock, you know what I'm talking about.
I have not seen.
You don't know? You haven't seen that? Oh.
No, Dave, man, I don't watch
N-word, please. That's the other. That's the other one.
I've seen I've seen Jay and Silent Bob where he was like, "Wait, it's crack, and like he turned around and
anyway, I'm sorry. Continue. My bad.
No, that's okay. It's okay. So basically, the reason that you want, because I was going to answer that last question first, which was, why do you want to know this? If you're just a regular old anarchist or a hotep trying to figure out what's going on in this grifting world. The answer is those master grifters, the people that are in power and should not be, well, they use this number system. So it is a really good indicator of what might be coming your way if you start seeing particular numbers and particular letters, particular colors, because as you'll see here in a moment, all that shit gets interrelated. So I guess the beginning of the story is around, give or take, a little over 1,000 years ago, and the Jews were kicking it, and Jesus had done been here and he'd already left. And they and so they were
such a modern historical perspective.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
The Jews were kicking it.
Jesus they were kicking it. And they thought, we don't have accomplished. What, Nicco? I'd miss that.
I said in their underground sewers.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
In the Holy Land.
Oh my God.
So they built these. In reality though, they thought, well, they had a bunch of mystics that were going on at the time. There were a bunch of different kinds of mysticism that the Jews did. And for people that don't know, what all mysticism really is the deeper study of a religion. Really all it is, trying to connect with God, trying to get a deeper understanding, a deeper connection to God, depending on what religious framework they're based on. But one of the things that rose out of that mysticism from around 1,000 years ago was what would become known as Kabbalah or Kabbalah. And you will, and it's actually pronounced, it's spelled QBLH. So lots of people.
I've always saw it spelled KABALLAH.
Yeah, there's a variety of
but
different.
That's not the
spells.
original way it was spelled, though.
In Hebrew, it is QBLH.
Okay.
With the differentiation in spelling, was there an alteration, just like how there's like a differentiation from like the Bible and like the King James version?
No, it's just Christians not knowing how to read Hebrew. Really, that's really what it was. Because what wound up happening, and this is going on about roughly 200 to 250 years ago. The Jews had basically a reformation, and they were kind of throwing all these old mystical books out. They didn't want nothing to do with them. Well, a whole bunch of Christians went, "Oh crap, that's neat stuff," and started grabbing them up. But they didn't they didn't speak or read Hebrew. So there's a bunch of mistranslations that happened. Like I said, we're gonna gloss over a bunch of that stuff
Okay.
because
We
it
don't
really
have 12 hours. Yeah.
correct. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I could do an intro to Kabbalah, not even touching Gematria, which is what we're going to talk about, and have a 3-hour lecture and only touch the beginning. So again, this is a huge subject. That's why I want to kind of give like the basic background. So around 200 years ago, the Jews kind of gave it up. And what winds up happening is it comes into the possession of a bunch of Western interested, usually Christians, who were interested in, okay, how did the Jews contact God? Very long story short, they very quickly found Kabbalah and started putting attributions to things. Very, like I said, it's not really important for today's discussion. But the primary glyph that you want to be familiar with Kabbalah is this one. This is the Tree of Life, and I'm covering up Nicco with it. The Tree of Life is, you can see down here at the very bottom with the kind of X marks the spot. That's where you're at. If you look at the top, that's where God's at, where the dove is. And each of those, you will see 10 circles. Those are called sephira. And in between them are lines. And there are 22 lines, making a total of 32 objects, where you have the circles and the lines. 22 lines, 10 circles. Those numbers are important. So basically, to get into what happened, there was a book written called the Sefer Yetzirah, and the Sefer Yetzirah. Sefer is basically book. Yetzirah is the it's translated as creation, but it's actually closer to say like formation. It's a slightly different translation, but I think it's important because this is when God gets made form. This is what God uses to create. And in the Sefer Yetzirah, what God used to create the universe were the 22 Hebrew letters. And what he does, according to the Sefer Yetzirah, is he creates the entire universe literally in spoken word. And that is the word of God. And so as he speaks, the word moves through the universe and creates everything that it is. The whole universe is created from a word. And so that, and like I said, a lot of this, most people are like, yep, recognize it, get it. The difference is you have to understand in Hebrew, in the context of ancient Hebrew understanding, when they say created by a word, it's not like God is like, this is a monkey and it becomes a monkey. That's not what it is. It is literally the fabric of the universe is numbers. And it's important that which number it is. And in Hebrew, the letters are also numbers, and understanding that to the Hebrews, there are not two things. When we say one, we think of one thing. When we say the letter A, we think of the letter A. It could be a part of the word can or whatever it is. When we say the word two or the letter B, for us, the letter B really doesn't do anything on its own, right? A does, B doesn't. Well, in Hebrew, they all do something on their own. They're a number. So you kind of got that? All right. So what you wind up with is and I'm getting the cheat sheet out, which is 777 by Alistair Crowley.
I have that upstairs.
You should. It's a very, very good book, particularly the back of the book where it talks about the
No,
Gematria. So more or less, the way that the world is created according to these Jewish Kabbalists, and to be clear, to be a Jewish Kabbalist at the time, you had to be 40 or older and a man. Period. There's no women, and you got to be Jewish. You know, I'm totally not.
But did you have to have a penis? Because nowadays you could be a man without having a penis. So I'm just wondering, you know, how does that work?
They would say yes. Gonna need a penis. Okay. gonna go on ahead and need that penis.
Pause.
Right.
Yeah, for real. It's kind of wild.
For sure. 100%.
Like,
100%.
it doesn't matter how late it is. We still got this. Got to go. It's got to hit the time.
For sure.
Like,
100%.
I think that's a little. It'll be like a pause cleansing real quick.
Right, for sure.
All right, you can go ahead, Marcus.
It's all right. So basically, from there, you and what I needed my cheat sheet was the numbers breakdown. So you have basically Hebrew works similar to English, but they have different order. Like we have ABC, they have ABG. So they have Aleph, Beth, Gimel, Daleth, Hey, Val, Zayin, Kaith, Taith, and then Yod. That's the first 10. Okay. And so what you have there is basically A, B, G, D, H, or kind of E, V, Z, C, H, T, and Y, which is also I or J in Hebrew. So
I wanted to ask you real quick. So you were saying the thing about the Kabbalah, how it was spelled QBLH or whatever. Mm-hmm. So is that similar to like the Yahweh spelling, where it was like because I know the Yahweh thing was like, it was a thing that was unpronounceable, like so that it was because you weren't supposed to say God's name out loud. But is this just more of like that's just how they're
that's just how it works? Okay. Yeah, they don't use as many vowels as we do.
They didn't avoid vowels on purpose. It was just that's just how they spelled it. Okay.
Correct. They a lot of in Hebrew, a lot of letters, and I'd forgotten your question, Nicco. No, it's not. To tie all this together, it's not like a misspelling. QBLH is how it is spelled because that's Kof. It's again, each letter matters, and so basically, you have Kof, Beth, Lamed, Hey, and that spells Kabbalah. What's happening is that again, generally Christian Western minds are trying to write Kabbalah, and and some of them knew enough to know, wait a minute, the first letter's Kof, that's Q, and so they would be like QAB, so they're trying to figure it out, but the actual spelling is QBLH, and but all other spellings that you see are not real. It's QBLH.
Gotcha. All right. So what was Nicco's? Nicco, do you remember what
it was basically did the difference in spelling have an alteration to the meaning of Kabbalah or anything along the lines of that?
Yeah. And the answer was no, because it's just Christians trying to figure out how to spell Kabbalah.
So based on their ignorance, they just misspelled it opposed to doing
correct. Yeah, and that happens a lot. When you start, sense, though. Yeah, when you start studying Kabbalah, you'll find out that there's actually like 5 different kinds. Because there's traditional Kabbalah and there's magical Kabbalah and then there's variants.
Okay, which one is the most
magical Kabbalah?
Magical, yeah, it makes sense. Everybody wants to use magic.
Yep.
So
what winds up happening is those Christian mystics that were grabbing up all of this stuff that the Jews were throwing away, they wind up being because the Jews threw them away, being the large group.
Why did they start throwing them away? But the reason found like interest in them.
Well, the reason that the Jews started throwing them away is they were having an enlightenment. They didn't think that all this mystical stuff was important. Okay. There's a string in Judaism of atheism. They often barely believe in God, and they they don't think, like, when you go back into Jewish history, you don't actually, like, they don't even really think about the concept of an afterlife. They deal with more like what's going on, as opposed to what might happen when we die. It was just a different. It's not that people haven't come up with those ideas since. What did I say now?
No, read the comment, G.
Hey, look, man. That's your fault for going to Dollar General while you're
Playing
watching
us
this
out
show,
loud.
all right? Shout out to Dollar General. Shout out to Terry behind the register. Put it in reverse, Terry.
Hilarious.
Oh, shit, man. God, dog. That's hilarious. I love Tim. Great to have you here, Tim. I'm so glad you're here live.
Sure.
This is great. All right, so continue, because I have a couple of questions, but I don't want you to break stride. I want you to go where you're going, and then when there's like a spot where like maybe it'll fit in, I have some questions.
Okay.
Or some clarifications, I guess.
Sure. So basically, again, they set this up, and for anybody that might watch this and wants the list of numbers and the list of letters, I don't want to put all that crap right here. You can contact me either through YouTube or through Twitter, and I can get you the list. It's an easy share.
All those links are in the description.
Correct. Right. Just get in touch with me.
By the way,
I can get
like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget that.
Yes,
we live off of likes, shares, and subscriptions. So
sure.
Join the Patreon. It's only $5 a month,
Just
and you get to have like a whole episode devoted to a question you asked, like Tim.
Right.
Yeah?
So in essence, so where we're at right now is that to go to Nicco's question, the reason they were going away was because they were demystifying their religion. They were getting rid of the mystical stuff, and this happens in a lot of religions. Catholicism did it in around 130 years ago, with Vatican II and all of that. So that happens in a religion pretty often, and so the reason that people grabbing it up is because this is ancient wisdom. Not only did this information make it into Jewish stuff, but you got to remember where they are. We're talking about the hotbed of all knowledge at that time, particularly esoteric knowledge. You have Egypt right there, Sumeria is right around the corner, and so is Babylon, and so is India. So you have all of these centers, and there's trade routes that go all the way through Israel at this point, because this is all Fertile Crescent area, lots of people trading back and forth.
Still a lot of that today.
For sure. And so they developed this number system. Why is it important? Again, a lot of why it is important isn't like Aleph is 1. Nobody gives a shit about that. It all comes down to, they believe in this system that when you have two words, for instance, there is a statement in Thelema, the philosophy of Aleister Crowley: do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. If you analyze that, now this is Greek gematria, but if you analyze that statement, you'll notice the word love, life, and law repetitively. All of those words in Greece, and because they have a version of this as well, in Greece, all of them add up to the number 93. And so it is thought that if two words mean the same thing, then they're add up to the same thing, then they have some kind of connection. So will and love and law all would be thought to have a connection. So the reason that the shitbags follow this is because you can find patterns. And when you start looking into patterns, just like what is in the Kabbalah, you will find it in nature. And I'm talking about finding it out in your backyard. You're going to find these numbers. It perfectly.
Everybody look at the time right now.
So
it's technically it'd be on Marcus' time, but it's like 5:55, and it's like but the thing is like
for me and Nicco, it's 5:55.
Yeah, so it's like repetition is like very evident and present in our day to day, and that would be spoken on.
Right, and so what you would do with that is the first kind of emanation, if you will, is understanding the first 10. And that's why I started going through there are 10 numbers or 10 letters, Aleph, Beth, Gimel, so on. And they all equal 1, 2, 3, 4, each of them as you go down. Then you go, once you get past the first 10, then you go to the next 10. And then the next 10 are 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, so on. And then you get to the hundreds. Now you're going to go, there's 22 letters. How is that? How are you going to get past 22? And the answer to that is they do final letters. So you have the last 2 letters, which are tau and actually it's last 4 letters, Kof, Resh, Shin, and Tau are 100, 200, 300, and 400. And then they have these things called final letters. And what final letters are is it's the last letter in the whatever word. And then those get their own, it's the last letter. So Kaf, if it's final, Mem, which is K, Mem, if it's final, which is M, Noon, if it's final, which is N, and then Pei, if it's final, is 800, and then Sadi, which Pei is P, and TZ, which is Sadi, it's a letter they have that we don't, that equals 900. So you get all of the numbers up into that area. Okay. You'll notice that these are in sets of 10. This is a 10-based system. So everything has 10s. So what Nicco said is actually true. 555 would be basically, if using this system, would be, you would look at, would not be 555, just to be clear. It would be 500, which would have to be last, which would be Kaf, and then 50, which is Noon, and then 5, which is Hay. So those 3 would be 555. But why it's important to talk about 3s is because you'll notice that there are 3 numbers there, that 3 classifications of numbers. You have
the single digits, the double digits, and the triple digits, basically.
Correct. Yeah. And those 3 kinds matter too. Okay. Very long story. I'm just getting to the basics. So those are the 3 different kinds. So if you have 555, that's indicating the number 5 times or 3 times. Anything in Kabbalistic understanding, if you have 5, that's a number, right? If you have 5, that's a powerful number because you've moved it into the second tier of numbers. If you have 3 numbers, 5, 5, 5, that's the highest number. Okay? In the system. So in the system, it matters when you have 3 numbers together. Okay? And that's because there are 3 different levels of consciousness and 3 different levels.
Sounds like the Holy Trinity.
It is very similar to the Trinity.
So that's why like 666 is and it's not just either 6 or.
I find it to be as like time. It makes sense as it being time. I mean, everybody wants to relate it to like it being connected to the devil, but that's all they're told. Like if you think about it, there's like, if you break down time, it's 60 seconds, 60 minutes, and then what you call it? What's the other 60? 60 seconds in a minute, 60
minutes in an hour. I mean, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forgot the other one. But is it in the book, Marcus?
Yeah. It's all
there we go.
All right. So the number of these are things that add up to 666 just for funsies, because that's what you can do with this. This book has a whole bunch of other words that add up to that number, so you can see how they relate. So let's go ahead and do 666. The number of the beast. Aleister Crowley. It's actually Aleister E. Crowley. When you spell that out in full in Hebrew, guess what? 666. There's a demon from the Kalipoth of Pisces. There's a spirit of the sun that equals that. Almost Satan. Translate if you think that.
Just not Satan, almost.
No, it's OMMO Satan.
Okay.
It means the evil triad.
Oh,
So, and just
bro, hell no. I just got to throw this up. It's a whole different kind of pause, but pause anyway. Shit, damn. Like no, hell no.
So one final thing that adds up to 666, Jesus Christ.
Oh, Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Another thing that adds up to 666 is if in the very first book of the New Testament where it goes so and so beget so and so beget so and so forth, right? If you take the first letter of every single one of the people, you'll wind up with 666. Facts. What Kabbalists argue is that you can find number roots in the Bible all over the place and find codes in the Bible, on the Bible, because they're there intentionally.
I wonder. So like, because like there's so like 666 is the thing that's often like
demonized,
used for like the description of the Antichrist, right? Like it's and so, but if you think of what the Antichrist, what anti actually means, it's like this. It's not just like not or opposed to. It's also like a replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that. I don't know. I'm just wondering, like,
where I gather with that is Jesus said, "I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end," and I think that there is a clue there in his name adding up to 666, in the fact that he is the beginning and the end. And even most Christians believe that there will be some kind, or many Christians believe there will be some kind of, return of Jesus, a rapture, what all, so in many Christian faiths, they believe he's coming back at the end. So he would be the beginning and the end. So what this matters about is each number has a significance. And again, when you start piling numbers, when you start doing 555, 666, 333, those become important numbers. But what the shitbags are generally looking at, and what people like me are generally looking at when they're looking at patterns.
Calling yourself a shitbag?
No, I'm calling myself. I'm calling myself somebody that looks at Kabbalah.
Okay.
But
because you said like when the shitbags and me,
shitbags and people like me who study this stuff.
Thing.
Yeah, for sure. No, there's the shitbags who are evil magicians, and then there are people like me who are not evil.
Just regular shitbags.
Right. Yeah, for sure. But but at the end of the day, how it works is that they want you to focus down on the when I say they, when you start studying it, you want to look at 1 through 10 and start figuring out what that means. And so you start analyzing those sephira based on where they're at on the tree of life. So you have 1 being God, the singularity of oneness, and then 2, 3, and so on, all the way to 10 being the manifestation of God, the world, okay, this universe. Right. And so when you start analyzing those different pieces, as an example, you have 1, which would be related to God, 2, which is related to wisdom. It's related to Chokmah. It is in Gnostic thought, it's the Logos. It is Jesus before Jesus was born. It is that spark of the divinity. And then you have you have God as the totality, the oneness, God as the Son, as the Logos, as the Word, and then you have God as Sophia, what would be, to go back to Nicco's Trinity, would be the final piece of that Trinity, is also included with the Holy Spirit. And so you have 1, 2, and 3 that are really important to Kabbalists, because that is what they call the supernal triad. They're the ones at the top. These are the things that deal with God. So you wind up, like, if you break something down, and when I mean break it down is like its core number works just like any other numerological system works. If you have 15, that's 1 plus 5, its core number is 6. And so if its core number is
yes, can we get it? So why isn't it 15? You know, and like,
No,
why if you add a string? Well, wait, hang on. So like, if you add a string of numbers together and it comes out to 15, and then you whittle it down to, it becomes 6, right? So like, so explain that. Nicco, you can go, but I wanted to finish the thought or whatever. But yeah, break it down for me, like why? Because a lot of people look at this stuff and they hear people who do numerology or Gematria or anything like that. They're just like, yeah, y'all just like pick and choose when to combine numbers and when not to combine them based on how convenient it is to line up with whatever shit you're gonna say, like you knew was gonna happen or something like that. But like, I want to see you predict. Anyway, tell us about like how that works to where you get to the core number or whatever it is, and why that versus like just whittling it down to 15 or you know,
sure,
100 or 99 or whatever.
Again, it's getting you to the basics. It's getting a basic understanding of what kind of energy you're dealing with. And why you do it is you're looking for, you'll notice that it's actually 1 through 9. You don't have a 10.
Okay.
And because
if it's 10, it's 1.
Correct.
Okay.
And 10 is, notice I said it is the manifestation of God. In other words, it is God manifest, 1, 0. And so what you wind up with is 20, as an example, would be Christ manifest. You wind with 30. See what I'm saying? Each of those winds up being important for that reason. But what you're trying to get to is, let's say you have 342, right? 342. That's 3 plus 4 plus 2. That's 9. That's your core number. It's an illusionary number. It's at 9. Okay. What the symbols they're trying to get to when they're doing this, just to be clear, Gematria is the study of numbers as it relates to how words are put together. In other words, if I took Chad's name, okay, and we wanted to,
please don't be 666. Please don't be 666. Please don't be 666.
So first of all, we're gonna need to figure out which letter.
Or if I am, just maybe be on the Jesus side of that, I guess.
Right. Okay, well, the good news is your first letter is an 8. CH is 8, and then A is 1, so you got 9. And CH is 1 letter, just to be clear. So you have 9, and D is 4, so you have
13.
So yeah, your core number is 4, and that
Let's go back to the cracker collection again.
So we said it with 13, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that's 4 then, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So your basic number would be 4. That means that you see yourself as the father.
Yeah, your structure.
I'm
a father. You're a hard worker.
Right.
I mean, I definitely. All right. So like, there is that kind of vibes, because like I'm the oldest child in my family.
Jupiter.
So my dad traveled a lot, just like I do, and so like I was like the man of the house a good bit, you know, growing up and everything. And so like my siblings, I'm still kind of like I may not be like, because my dad's still their father, right? Like, but I definitely was like, I'm the one that they look to. Like, I'm like the leader of like, hey, we're gonna do this. Hey, we're gonna do that. That sort of thing. And there's a lot of like leaning on me for.
You're the itinerary man.
I am. I'm the itinerary man. If you want to go to an event and you want like shit to pop off in a good way, like follow my lead. Follow my lead, because I'm gonna find like the back door to where we get to go meet the celebrity or something like that. Like that, you know what I mean? Some shit like that where.
I gotta pause you for
everybody else wants to just leave, and I'm like, no, look, like if we just
you're talking about the back door, I gotta give you a quick.
All right. Backstage. I meant backstage. I don't know. Is that still just as bad? Anyway,
what I find fun, Chad, about what you just did, lots of the things that you just talked about, celebrity, those are all Jupiter type things. So you went into that. My point is, yes, we got very quickly because your
people want to go. They'll be like, I want to go see this Drake concert, and I'll be like, all right, but like, do you want to meet him? Because like, I'm gonna see if I can find a way for you to be able to meet the person or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna do some shit like that. Like, my wife, we went. Remember that concert that we went to? Like, went to that concert. I was like, no, we're gonna get there at this time because like. I don't know what it's going to look like, but we're going to get like front row. So I'm like standing front row, and I just stood there and held a spot for her because she had to go to the bathroom and everything. By the time she came back in there was like 4 rows deep behind me, And so I'm like, good thing I stood here and did this. Like, did the same thing for my daughter when we went to hang out, and she got to see Khalid up, like 10 rows back or whatever. And, that kind of thing. So like,
look, the father doing the fathering thing.
I'm just trying. Yeah, look. I know how important this is to you. If you want your experience to be amazing,
you're just confirming the confirmed. Yeah. He said,
Nicco, the guy who sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at the Cubs game, threw the hat and it landed on Nicco. I'm just saying, like, who got those tickets? Me.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
it's like Bill Murray's brother or some shit or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. No, wasn't it somebody related to the Grateful Dead or something like that?
No, it was Grateful Dead night, but no, the guy who threw the hat, it was Bill Murray's brother, who's like an actor comedian.
I think I remember that. I remember you talking about it, and I remember that it was Bill Murray.
Yeah, it wasn't Bill Murray. It was his brother.
Right. But I mean,
it was. Yeah, right.
It was a Murray.
I thought it was Mr. Belding, but it wasn't. They look similar. So
to get back to the Kabbalah, now that you have thoroughly gone into Jupiter stuff. All right. So that's really the basics of kind of understanding the symbolism of it. What you came down to was 4. And I found the association to the 4th place on that tree of life that I called up earlier. So if we can, here, let me bring that back up. If you look here, that blue dot, notice from the top, the white is 1, the gray is 2, the black is 3, the blue is 4. And that's where the 4 is. So that's Jupiter. And just to be clear, what that also is Hesed in Hebrew, but I digress, which means mercy. So what I want to do now is kind of go off of that, Chad. Mm-hmm. So we got the basics, like with just your name, we got Jupiter. Okay. We got the number 4. All right. Mm-hmm. And then when I analyze your number based on what other words also add up. So this is the list that Crowley gives us. These are one word that mean these things. Okay. A small, and all of them add up to 13. A small bundle or bunch. The word beloved.
I'm just telling. No, I'm just pause.
Your wife will have to comment on that. I cannot.
Jesus.
So the next thing is beloved or love, unity, hated, emptiness, raised up, 42 fold. There's a 42 fold name of God from the Sefer Yetzirah. That, yeah, the anxiety, a fisher, thunder, to meditate, a city at one of the cities of Edom. Here the word this, a locust, and he shall come. So those are all things that in 777 are listed for the right. For sure. Lots of pausing. He shall come.
Relax. I mean, I'm only me. No other dude. Anyway.
So basically, what that means, if you will, is the idea that these words are similar. So, like, for instance, if you were going to say Chad, right, but you wanted to do it secretly, this is just the very basics. What you could do is you could choose one of those words. For instance, let's say beloved. Okay, whatever that word is in Hebrew, because I don't read Hebrew, and it's in Hebrew, but I don't know how to say it. But whatever the word for beloved is, let's say that we decided to, instead of calling Chad, we call him beloved. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And so now, because the number adds up, we can start putting that into code. So now you have beloved, only for us, equaling Chad. And let's say we want to send a message to Chad to run, right? What we would do is have a word, find that number, like in some other, like maybe it's in Greek, maybe it's in whatever, but it adds to 13, but it means run. And let's say I'm trying to tell Chad to run. I'll send you that word in Hebrew. And what I have just told you in secret with one symbol is run, Chad.
Hey, Marcus, don't get assassinated. Give us this shit, man.
So,
all right, well, changing the subject, this is the dude who I was talking about.
Wow.
Well, that's not it. Damn, what's the wrong?
This is MLB payroll.
Shit, my bad. I did the wrong tab. Shit. All right. See, I'm a baseball nerd. My bad, y'all. Joel Murray. Here we go. Now, can you see it?
Yeah.
That's the dude.
Okay.
That's the dude who sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Hey, Murray.
So,
Oh, right. You did tell me.
Bill Murray's
the guy
brother.
who.
Yeah. My bad, y'all.
That's all good. So that's the basically what Gematria is.
Okay.
It is the comparison of these basic 10 numbers, right? You broke everything down.
Mm-hmm.
And then the comparison of two numbers. Now, people will say, okay, well, that's not that complicated. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you start comparing that you start putting things in. Right. You start putting things together and you start figuring out what, for instance, you might find a passage in the Bible that has like something that's repetitive. Okay. Like God says something about an ox 1,000 times. And what you can do is find out that there is a message that God's trying to tell you with that word because it means ox. And you could find that letter and figure out what they're trying to tell you. So why I don't do this, because I'd be mad by now. Because if I was trying to figure out all this numbered nonsense,
that's a lot of shit.
Right, I'd be plumb fucking crazy. What it does is it gives us a system to watch them and to pay attention. If they're using threes all the time, they're sending you a message. That message is that 3 is the symbol of Saturn. 3 is the symbol of the farthest form of Godhead, which in some systems, including theirs, because remember, they're largely basing this on Gnosticism, that is linked to Set, which is linked to Satan. So every time you see a 3 in what they're saying, they're telling you something is about to get shitty. And they also use the number 5 a lot. Number 5 is war, it's Mars. So you're going to be getting a bunch of those kinds of numbers. So when they start doing things where the date falls to, say, let's, I don't know, something, in the, like, let's say that you're dealing with, like, I don't know, May 5th. So you got 5-5. That tells you that it is at the second level, because in reality, like I said, this gets really, really complicated. But you're more or less dealing with the second level of a 5 energy if you're dealing with 55. And that means double war. And so you're going to have a massive war.
It means margaritas.
5-5.
I'm just saying, like, it's Cinco. You're talking about Cinco de Mayo, like, I mean, it's just,
right. Yeah.
It is.
But it is Cinco de Mayo. But yeah, you get my point though. They send these signals, and so again, I covered the 1 through 3, which are the Godhead stuff. 3 is also associated with Saturn. 4 is Jupiter. It's fatherly things. 5 is Mars. It's like war and those kinds of things. 6 is beauty, and it deals with the Christ consciousness. Often 6 is a number they associate with either the devil because of the 666 stuff. That's more of a popular culture thing, or Jesus stuff tends to be 6 too. It's the sun. And then you have 7, which is Venus, and they like to do a lot with 7 because most people don't understand where the word Lucifer comes from. It is the light bringer, the morning star. That's correct. It is the name of the star of Venus in the morning in Rome. It was called Lucifer. So that's Venus. They do a lot with that. 8 is Mercury, and 9 is the moon. So, and Mercury's knowledge, and the moon is illusions. So those give you that gives you the
face
kind of
unfroze.
Set.
All right. Yeah. Well, so I first and foremost, shout out to your parakeet, Nicco.
That was a cat. That was a cat.
That's a cat. That's a cat. I was like, somebody keeps talking to Nicco. Like,
and then
give homie a cracker. I got a box right here.
Oh my God!
Poppy wants a cracker.
You've been ripping them all day. You've been ripping it all day.
I know, he's been looking forward to
it. Shoot. No, but so I wanted to because you talked about like some of this stuff being involved with like the mystical and what how like what did you say? You said like they kind of threw away some of the stuff that dealt with the mystical and
the Jewish did.
Yeah. And so like I want to, because I think sometimes some of this stuff can be I don't know, either misunderstood or like misdirected maybe.
Mostly a
like,
little both.
To me, like the mystical is, I look at it from the standpoint of like there are mysteries that are not meant honestly to be understood by us. And it's not because so that now there are people who I'll break this down real quick. So God, there's some of it that we are shielded from, I guess, so to speak, because we can't. And I say that because I want to bring this up. This is and y'all know I'm a follower of Christ, so this is like this is where I'm going to fall back. But like I go to the Transfiguration. It says after 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, led them up a high mountain with them by themselves.
Chad, you froze.
Yeah, you froze, big dog.
It says is the disciples heard that. You know why?
You're more.
I froze because you can't hear me either.
Oh no, we can hear you. You was just chopping up like a
real bad.
All right. Well. All right. I'll stop. I'll stop sharing because I think that's what it is. whenever I go to that other screen, that's what happens. And it's
when it
that
gets
particular
choppy.
website that's like slowing everything down. Is it still choppy right now?
No. You're good.
Oh,
No, you're
okay.
good.
Oh, that's when it
What
gets
was
choppy.
it saying?
So anyway, it says like these are like some of his closest. It's Peter, James, and John, like the three like OGs, right?
Mhm.
They fall face down, terrified
Mhm.
by this tiny, like it's like a crack opens up, and they get to see
Mhm.
the glory of God for like a moment.
Mhm.
And we remember we showed that the video from The Onion where the guy's like,
Oh, yeah.
okay, God, and it's just like,
Yeah.
and it's like the brightest light and everything. It's like, to me, it's like, all right, so imagine like an orgasm times like 1 billion. Your body could not handle it.
Mm-hmm.
You would die.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so the mysterious and the mystical, like these things are mysteries, and we are given like these little glimpses into and like hints and clues about them, but we are not given the fullness of it because we cannot handle it. And I think some of this is there's as you shift from, so understanding that this is the geometric framework, or whatever you want to call it, the numerical framework of the universe, right?
Mhm.
That there are some people who want as much of that like beatific vision or whatever, that like they want to see, they want to go peel back the curtain because they think God is the Wizard of Oz, and they want to take over
Lots of hermetics.
and replace the wizard behind the curtain with themselves, and to control people, and to control their own lives, even just to control, to amass wealth or power or whatever for themselves. And there's a difference between seeking this stuff for the purpose of that control versus like just wanting to have a little bit better understanding so that you can understand and try to align yourself with the will of God. Like trying to align yourself with the will of God so that you can make sure that you're not missing the mark and stepping off into an abyss that will kill you, versus trying to take this system and like manipulate it so that you can maximize something out of it and like use it to like gain an advantage over other people, and to to even do harm and all these other things. That's all I wanted to say, is that
Sure.
was one of the things that jumped out to me with this.
Yeah, and I want to dive into that. First off, absolutely, there are certainly people that are trying to use basically trying to game God and get behind the curtain and use it, which is what you're talking about. Absolutely, that is happening. The understanding, at least from a Kabbalistic point of view, is that what is God? The totality that is God is unknowable, completely and totally like humans can't.
Unfathomable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. We don't got it.
Well, yeah, it's like what we talked about with the thing of like an infant in the womb, a baby in the womb, not yet born, trying to explain a galaxy.
Right.
Like you're literally like
it doesn't have the capability.
It's not even possible for it to begin to describe what a galaxy is.
Correct. And it's a very similar kind of concept with the Hermetic arts and with Kabbalah in particular. Hermeticism is the rising of consciousness to a Godhead. It's the understanding that we bring ourselves to Godhead through a series of stages. It's just to define my terms, and generally made popular by Hermes Trismegistus, or the three great Hermes. Anyway, and the Emerald Tablet, as above, so below, all that stuff. But particularly with Kabbalah, you're dealing with codes, and you're dealing with breaking codes. And the idea is that God left these codes for us. This isn't a like, I'm trying to gain the system. I'm trying to find the breadcrumbs God left.
Gotcha.
Is where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And just to use an example, you just said, out of the light of, I don't remember the exact words, and I don't even remember I remember it was Peter and
Peter,
Paul.
James, and John. No, Peter, James, and John. Yeah,
Peter,
Paul.
James.
Paul doesn't come until later because he was actually killing Christians. So
Yep.
he's
Okay.
After
So,
Jesus was ascended. Yeah.
That light, of course, has 3 people going up to it because
right.
1, 2, 3. How many go to God? Oh yeah, 3.
Yeah.
So of course they do, and that is exactly it. That is exactly what you do with this stuff. Is you go, oh, okay, what might I need to learn from John and James, and who was the other dude?
Peter.
So Peter, John, and James. What do I need to learn from them? Maybe I need to go to specific places if I'm trying to do that. Now I'm just winging it, and I don't know the Bible, but I'm willing to bet that you could follow that breadcrumb to something pretty neat if you found similar accounts to John and similar accounts to Peter and James doing those things, going towards God. They may have specific ideas of how you can do that. Kabbalistically, it becomes the fool, because there's tarot attributions, it's the fool, the magus, and the high priestess. Each of them would be applied to those. They're in the tarot decks. The whole idea is that numbers make up the universe. Now, that's been pretty much proven. We can
You can't
really
get anything on
dive
this planet without numbers. It's
right.
Impossible.
What we're trying to do, and when I say we, and this is humanity for over 1,000 years, probably closer to 3, have been trying to decipher what the fuck God's trying to say with this system for that long. I don't think we figured it out yet, but I do think that we have gotten far enough that we can look at patterns and start to figure it out. And again, if you don't think that the people who should not be in charge are not, they are absolutely following this system. There is no doubt there, whether or not I'm right, whether I'm completely batshit crazy, maybe I'm a shitbag. I don't know.
No, but like we said for the Super Bowl thing, like even if you don't want to like learn about this stuff to use it for certain, to try to make it to where like, oh, well, I'm just going to go make sales calls on these kind of days because that's when I'm most likely to make sales. Even if that's not the way that you want to try to like implement knowledge of this stuff, having like even like a cursory understanding so that you can see like, oh, today's one of those days where they're going to probably try to do this kind of stuff because that's what they do, because they are trying to actually like you think of. So it's funny. My wife and I we went to a wedding this weekend and we were flying back and we're just looking for a movie to watch on the plane together. So we like timed it up to where we like watching them, watching it simultaneously because you have to wear headphones and so you can't really watch it together unless you want to share a headset or something. So we timed our screens perfectly. We watched this movie. It's called Freaky. And it's based off of like the Freaky Friday thing with.
Is it a serial killer?
It's Vince Vaughn is a serial killer, and there's this high school girl who's like a nerd and everything, and they switch places. So she's like the serial killer in her body, and then the teenage girl is Vince Vaughn, and he's running around like this and everything. It's all very pause-worthy, but it's pretty funny. But I'm saying all that to say like. There's like this mystical magical dagger that like if he does this thing and he stabs her, it's like an Aztec dagger where like if he stabs at exactly at midnight or before, I don't know, like 24 hours to complete some ritual sacrifice or whatever. It's like, okay, I don't want to do that, but if I know that that's what this person is trying to do, then here's how I need to move and operate so that I don't become the human sacrifice.
Correct. Yeah,
You know?
and that is a very good description
You know
of what they're
so
doing.
like I'm not gonna use the dagger to kill to try to kill anybody with and become the powerful serial killer, whatever, you know, to sacrifice to whatever god, weird demon thing that he's sacrificing to. But knowing that he's doing that, and here's the playbook that it lays out for how all that stuff needs to happen. I know I don't want to be there. I don't want to be around that. I don't want to, you know, if I see him coming, I'm running the other way, and I'm doing
Correct.
this, and that. Yeah, that.
Right, and that is exactly it. It is the ability to not only be able to, for me, I'm trying to discern what God has to talk about, but at least use it so that when the shitbags are trying to talk to the devil, you know it.
You know
there's a whisper
what
in
the devil's telling
air.
him to do.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
and maybe you shouldn't go to Walmart today, bro. You know what, God? You're onto something.
right, for sure. But no, again, I don't know that we have really cracked the surface. The number one thing that people need to, I guess, get from this is one, each of the Hebrew alphabets, starting with Aleph, is the number system. If someone wants that number system, I will send it to them. You can get it in 777. You can go look online and find it. It's easy to find. But what makes it harder is starting to compile the symbol sets, because again, step one was learning there's 10 Sephirah. Step 2, which we did not get to tonight, is learning that there are 22 paths. And those 22 paths, although they are those letters, are infinitely important in trying to predict, because what you wind up with is, let's say you're dealing with some 5 stuff, right? And you're also dealing with some 7 stuff. What that tells you is what's between those. Well, the first thing that's between those is Tiferet.
6. Oh,
yes, 6.
I may not be a geometrist, but I'm a mathematician.
That's right.
That 5 and 7 has a 6 in between.
That's right. But it also, which is Tiferet, or the sun. So that means you're going to make if you're dealing with 5s and 7s, you're going to make a transition through the sun. And if they're trying to show that they're making that transition, they will show a sun in that way. But they will also, there are 2 paths that connect between the 7 place and the 5 place. And those 2 places, if you will, are, and just to call it up here again, are, if you see the green right there, right off of up to it, between it and the yellow space, that is the death card. And
that right here, this one right yonder.
Yep, right under the green one, in between it and the yellow, is the death card. And then over here between the yellow one and the red one is the justice card. Sorry, no, Wheel of Fortune card. So no, I'm wrong.
What number is it?
That is my brain giving me trouble. I was right. It's the justice card.
What,
so yeah, so you're going to have
So you have death, yellow, green, death, yellow, justice, red.
Correct.
Where the brown is death, and where the blue is justice.
Correct.
Those little the colored lines.
Yes, and what that would be is Libra and Scorpio. So what that tells you is, if they have projected, let's say we're going up the tree and we're going to war. Okay, we're going from, which is often the case, a female character moving into a martial character. They'll make a run through the sun, and what they will do is they will use the death. They'll use death and balance probably as their symbol set. Again, that's how you can kind of see, like, okay, they're heading us towards war. I've seen, Venus, and then I saw death stuff, and then the sun, and then they talked about balance. So I must be about to hit Mars. See what I mean? They map it directly to the Tree of Life, and they do it all the time. And yeah, so in wrapping this up for tonight, I want to say, Chad, you have multiple times said you don't understand how I remember all this shit, right? The answer to that question is I don't. I remember this. I remember this and every single thing that goes to it. Like I remember, is it Mars? Is it, and then I go to the drawer that's colored appropriate and I pull out the symbol that I need. So again, it is not really that I know that stuff. It's that I've corresponded it so that I have like shorthand to it. And I use the tree of life to do it.
Yeah, so, it's like you stored those memories in those little bins.
Correct.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
So, do you guys have any wrap-up questions? This is a little introduction to Gematria.
I was going to say,
no, I just can't wait for the next class.
I was going to say, like, normally I'd try not to do like inside baseball, like behind the scenes type stuff in front of the audience or whatever, but like
y'all niggas gotta pay for this.
We've done no, it's not that kind of thing. Like this is like talking shop or whatever. Like but we've gone through some different ideas and iterations of like recorded episodes that we want to run and that we would record like after we get off the air, we've recorded some stuff that we end up uploading later as part of a series. I wonder, like, would it seems like this would be a good one to, because we're always like struggling, like what would we do, what would we talk about? What would catch? This would be a good one probably, because this is really interesting. It kind of spans, it steps outside of even like our normal. Got a lot of depth. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are interested in this stuff too, to just kind of take this, kind of break things down and go through like a series of this stuff.
I'm willing to like break down like and do whatever we want. Maybe when we don't have like something pressing in the world that we can cover. Yeah. I think I'm all about it because for one, I'm getting rehashed. I'm doing classes in my personal life right now. So, refresher would be good.
Right. Refresher for you. Yeah. Because I was just thinking like there's enough people who are interested in this stuff and who would want to learn from it. And then it also, I think it's very easy to take whatever it is that we're discussing as we go through that process of kind of like going through like almost like a lecture series, but it would be a panel, like the three of us where we could talk about it and kind of bring our own, like we did tonight. But as we go through that series, there's also going to be some stuff that maybe like things that are going on that, like we just had, so the wedding that I went to, it was on 2/24/2024.
Wow.
Like that's pretty heavy.
It's 2s and 4s all over the place.
All 2s and 4s, it's all, and it's 8. It's 8 and then 8. It's like 2/24. That's 8, and then 20/24. That's another 8. Anyway, so there's all kind of different.
I'd have to see it.
Yeah. But anyway, I was just thinking like this might be one where we set up to actually with some material prepared to kind of go through, and it could be something simple like we just pull up a PDF of whatever book you're talking about and we just go to whatever, page 17. Okay, got it. And I could just go through and then pull up the page that you want to refer to as we go through it, and throw it up on the screen to have something where people would have like a resource that they could go back to.
The only resource that I can really suggest is there's a modern version of the Sefer Yetzirah. If you were to do a search, it's a bluish book with a yellow portion of it. Anyway, it's relatively easy to find. But yeah, I agree that I think that it would be nice to be able to do that. I don't know what I'll be able to pull together. Because I'm not as tech savvy as you are, and I don't know
we can talk about it. Yeah, we can talk about it, see what we could do and what I need to do to help support. Because you're going to bring the knowledge, and if we could just talk before about what I need to have ready to throw up, I can get that for you and have it.
Well, one of the things that, and again, sorry for talking shop real quick, but
No worries.
but one of the things that I'm gonna need is I'm gonna need some time. Because,
Yeah, understood.
yeah,
I'm not talking about doing it tonight after this show.
Right, I'm gonna need some time.
Yeah,
because,
for sure.
Because for one, a lot of the information I have, but finding it's a whole different ballgame.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, guys, this has been fun. I hope you learned some stuff.
A lot of shit.
Don't forget. Yeah, don't forget. Take your flow. Go to menoforder.com.
Absolutely.
Order your flow. Order your Apex so you can stop being a bitch. And don't forget to enjoy the cracker collection.
Is there a Negro cracker on there? Is there something like synonymous to like a black person?
I hadn't even looked at them. I just saw my wife brought this home like literally like 15 minutes before we went on air. And I was like, oh, you got to give me that. It's Black History Month.
I got wheat crackers.
They have Butter Crisp Toasteds.
No, that's not a black person.
Original Club Crackers, Townhouse Original Crackers, and then some Harvest Wheat Toasteds.
Look, the wheat ones.
Toasteds are these little circle ones. The Townhouse is these little oval ones, and then
so maybe
you're
the wheat one, Nicco.
Where are the wheat ones? Where are the wheat ones? I'll play the wheat crackers.
They didn't have any rye for you. Some pumpernickel.
You're trying to find the darkest skinned cracker in there? Okay.
That's hilarious. All right, guys. Well, this has been fun.
Yes, very much.
And you know what to do, guys. Stay free.
Peace out.